Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanathan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories. The United States reduces reciprocal tariff on Sri Lankan exports to 20%.
අපිට හොඳ අවස්ථාවන් දෙකක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි රේට් එක අඩු වීම තුලින් අපිට ලැබුණු ප්‍රතිලාභය. ඒ වගේම තමයි අපේ ව්‍යාපාරිකයන්ට සම බිමක් ක්‍රියේට් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
SJB, UNP and other parties welcome US tariff reduction.
අපි සතුටු වෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පුරවැසියෝ හැටියට ඇමරිකාවට තීරු බද්ධ 120 දක්වා අඩු කර ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
SM Chandrasena granted bail. New highway seatbelt regulations in effect from today. Public trust, integrity and ethics are crucial to judicial independence, says new President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Rohantha Abesurya, upon assuming duties. Bill to revoke special privileges of former presidents to be tabled on the 7th of August.
On to those stories in detail. The United States announced today that the reciprocal tariff rate imposed on Sri Lankan products has been reduced to 20%.
The White House stated that President Donald Trump has signed an executive order applicable to 40 countries, including Sri Lanka.
Fulfilling a key election promise, the US President signed an executive order on April 2nd, imposing tariffs on goods from every country around the world. Initially, Sri Lankan exports faced a 44% tariff. But following a visit by a Sri Lankan delegation to the US, the rate was reduced by 14%, bringing it down to 30%. The government says the reduction is welcome, but confirmed that discussions are continuing to secure further cuts, as rival exporting nations still enjoy low rates. The US President noted that tariffs could move up or down in the future depending on the state of bilateral relations.
මෙසේ තීරුබදු ක්‍රමයක් පනවලා තියෙනවා කියලා දැනගත්ත වහාම ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එක කැඳවලා ව්‍යාපාර.
As soon as it was brought to our attention that a reciprocal tariff system had been imposed, the President immediately convened key industry stakeholders and engaged the business community. This process was carried out through a consultative approach where input from all relevant parties was actively considered. A special task force was appointed specifically to facilitate this engagement. I wish to extend sincere gratitude to the Governor of the Central Bank, who provided consistent support, to the President's economic advisor Duminda Hulangamua, to the Secretary of the Ministry of Trade K.A. Vimalendra Raja, and to Sri Lanka's Ambassador to the United States Mahinda Samarasinghe for their valuable contributions. Thanks to the collective efforts of these teams, we have been able to bring this matter to a very positive outcome. Within a limited time frame, numerous government institutions worked tirelessly to make this possible, and we received strong cooperation from the US side as well. As a country, we can consider this a major achievement. Looking ahead, we intend to explore further opportunities for reducing this tariff rate. We plan to engage in careful, constructive dialogue with our US counterparts on the available mechanisms for doing so. There are still several remaining actions to be taken in this regard. We expect both our negotiating team representing Sri Lanka and the corresponding team from the US to continue discussions in the same spirit of collaboration to take this process forward effectively.
පැත්තෙන් අපිත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වෙලා ඉන්නේ කණ්ඩායමත් ඉදිරියටත් මේ විදියටම සාකච්ඡා කරමින් කතා බහ කරමින් අදහස් සුවමාරු කරගෙන ඊටාම හොඳ මට්ටමකට මේක ගෙනියන්න අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Under the new US tariff policy, it is believed that Sri Lanka's apparel sector will be among the most affected. This is due to Sri Lanka's total exports to the United States being valued at around $3.35 billion, with apparel accounting for nearly $2 billion of that amount. Looking at how the latest tariff rates impact competing apparel exporting countries, China, the largest supplier to the US, now faces a 51% tariff. Vietnam, another major exporter, has been granted a lower tariff rate of 20%. The reduction comes as Vietnam allows the US full market access without applying any tariffs on American goods. Bangladesh, the third largest apparel supplier, also enjoys a 20% tariff rate. Other apparel producing nations such as Indonesia and Cambodia face tariffs of around 19%. India, another key apparel exporter, has been subjected to a higher tariff rate of 25%, while Pakistan's tariff rate stands at 19%.
අපේ අරමුණ වෙලා තිබුණේ percentage එක.
Our objective was to determine at what percentage rate we could move forward while maintaining the competitiveness of Sri Lanka's market within the region. We were able to achieve that goal. The rate has been set within a certain range relative to other countries in the region. There was a mutual interest from both Sri Lanka's side and from business and investor communities in the other country to open up the Sri Lankan market. A trade imbalance had developed and there was a need to find solutions to that. We are learning through the business community itself that alongside these challenges, new opportunities have also emerged. During the course of these discussions, new business and investment prospects have surfaced, even opening pathways for foreign investment into Sri Lanka. We are pleased to note that in parallel to these negotiations, Sri Lankan businesses have been engaging in discussions with potential international partners. This is a very encouraging development. It's clear that both countries stand to benefit from this process in the long run. We are confident that this will allow Sri Lanka to move forward while preserving its competitiveness in the regional market.
මේ තුලින් අවස්ථාව ලැබෙයි කියලා ලොකු විශ්වාසයක් තියෙනවා.
How can Sri Lanka make the most of the tariff concession? Speaking at a media briefing today, the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance commented on how the recently announced tariff concession could benefit the country.
අපිට හොඳ අවස්ථාවන් දෙකක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. එකක් තමයි රේට් එක අඩුවීම තුලින් අපිට ලැබුණු ප්‍රතිලාභය.
We have two good opportunities here. First is the direct benefit from the reduced tariff rates. Secondly, it creates a level playing field for our exporters. Compared to other countries in the region engaged in exports, we hope to work closely with our industries to maximize the benefits from this concession. We know that a large share of our apparel exports go to the United States, along with a significant portion of our rubber products and seafood. We have several other such products as well. Our plan is to prepare a roadmap to ensure Sri Lankan business leaders, exporters, investors and manufacturers can work together to fully utilize this opportunity.
ඉතිරි කරුණුත් පිට අවසන් කරගන්නට ලැබෙවි කියලා අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
මේ වරට 15ක බද්දක් ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙමින් පැවතිය. උතුමාට දන්වලා තියෙනවද මේ 120ත් එක්ක ඒ බද්දත් එකතුව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා කියලා?
මේ බදු විශේෂයෙන්ම ලංකාවට ආවේනික දෙයක් නෙමෙයි.
This tax is not something unique to Sri Lanka. It affects a large number of countries around the world. In those countries, this is imposed as an additional tax on top of the existing tariffs. It's part of a broader global practice. Therefore, we do not expect this to pose a threat to our competitiveness. We have noticed that some individuals are attempting to spread misinformation. In some places, we see efforts being made by certain parties to misrepresent this as a restrictive measure. Instead of approaching it that way, we believe it's important to look at this from a broad and forward-thinking perspective to support the country's path toward future growth and take it to the next stage of development. As a nation, we must focus on what adjustments are necessary to contribute meaningfully to that progress, and that is exactly the approach we took in these discussions.
තමයි අපි මේ සාකච්ඡාව කරගෙන ගියේ.
Chairman of the Committee on Public Finance and Samagi Jana Balawege parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva expressed his appreciation over this achievement reached by Sri Lanka.
අපි සතුටු වෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පුරවැසියෝ හැටියට.
We are happy as citizens of Sri Lanka on the US decision to reduce tariffs to 20%. This isn't about politics, but rather about an essential step towards strengthening our economy. Our aim has been to secure competitive position alongside other countries in the region that also trade with the US market. Now, Sri Lanka is better placed to compete with nations like Vietnam, Bangladesh and India. This is indeed a positive development.
තමයි ඉන්නේ. ඒක හොඳයි.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says he is pleased with the reduction of the US tariff rate imposed on Sri Lanka to 20%. However, he points out that in order to achieve a real benefit for Sri Lankan exporters, further negotiations with the US are needed to reduce the tariff rate to 15%. In a statement issued by the United National Party, it says that they welcome the new executive order issued by President Trump, further modifying the reciprocal tariff rates, and they commend the government and the negotiating team for successfully concluding the negotiations. The UNP calls on the government to make a clear statement on the meaningful trade and security agreements arrived at. The Free Trade Zone Manufacturers Association also made clarifications on the matter today.
නොයිකුත් කටකතා තිබුණා රටවටා ගොඩක් අය
There was a lot of talk going around the country. Many people, especially from opposition groups, were spreading stories saying only Trump himself could make this happen. And then there were the economists, who had their own doubts and theories. But regardless of all that, the new government and the negotiation team have actually achieved a major success by bringing down the tariff to 20%. There's also some confusion among manufacturers and experts. Before this, our apparel exports were subject to what's called the MFN rate, most favoured nation rate, which ranged anywhere from 6% to 35%, with an average tariff around 12% to 16% imposed by the United States. Right now, some people are spreading rumours that this new 20% tariff is an addition to the MFN rate. That's completely false. The 20% tariff is the only tariff. This means for every product and service Sri Lanka exports to the US. Only a 20% tariff applies, no extra charges on top of that. So right now, as exporters and manufacturers, what we really need to focus is on diversification. This is the perfect opportunity to do so.
දැන් තමයි අවස්ථාව.
The US announces fresh tariffs on more than 90 countries as Donald Trump's deadline to strike trade deals passes. US President Donald Trump imposed steep tariffs on exports from dozens of trading partners, including Canada, Brazil, India and Taiwan, ahead of a Friday trade deal deadline, pressing ahead with plans to reorder the global economy. Trump set rates including a 35% duty on many goods from Canada, 50% for Brazil, 25% for India, 20% for Taiwan and 39% for Switzerland, according to a presidential executive order. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his government is disappointed by Donald Trump's decision to raise tariffs on Canadian goods outside the US-Mexico-Canada trade agreement to 35%. US duties and tariffs would heavily affect lumber, steel, aluminium and automobiles, Carney said in a post on X, vowing action to protect Canadian jobs, invest in industrial competitiveness and diversify export markets. Brazilian companies reacted with a mix of relief and doubt after the White House surprised them on Wednesday with a list of nearly 700 exceptions to the 50% tariff US President Donald Trump imposed on the country's exports from the 6th August. While the exemptions cover major Brazilian exports such as aircraft, iron ore and orange juice, the country estimates that 35.9% of its sales to the US by value will be hit by the new tariff. Key exports like beef and coffee were notably absent from the exemption list. Meanwhile, New Zealand's Trade Minister has called the White House's hiked tariffs unwarranted after the country's exports to the US were subjected to a 15% base rate on Thursday. This announcement marks an increase from the 10% levy on New Zealand that the White House announced in April. Many Southeast Asian countries were hit with some of the highest tariff rates when US President Donald Trump announced his reciprocal tariffs on the 2nd April. The new levies announced on Thursday continue to impose steep rates on several nations in the region. Among the highest were 40% on exports from Laos and Myanmar to the US. Although they were a reduction from previous steep rates, the new levies were the second highest announced, behind only 41% on Syria. The rates on Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia and Thailand have all been lowered substantially to 19 or 20%. Trade agreements had been previously announced with Vietnam and Indonesia as well as with Cambodia and Thailand following their ceasefire. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet said the 19% tariff on the country's exports to the US, down from the original 49%, was good news for the people and economy of Cambodia. Experts have said that US President Donald Trump's decision to impose 25% tariffs on goods imported from India could hit the country's growth prospect. It is unclear how big the hit could be given that Trump has announced an unspecified penalty in addition to the 25% tariff rate. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te said on Friday that the new 20% tariff rate set by the Trump administration on goods imported from the island is temporary and the government expects to negotiate a lower figure. Pakistan has emerged with the lowest tariff rate on any South Asian country after the White House announced the new levies on Thursday. The announcement by the United States to slash Pakistan's tariff rate from 29% to 19% was already being celebrated widely, with the country's Prime Minister releasing a statement on X conveying his profound thanks to President Donald Trump. According to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka's external sector remained resilient in the first half of 2025, with the country recording a current account surplus of $1.5 billion despite a widening merchandise trade deficit. Total exports, including goods and services, reached $10.1 billion, marking a 6.8% year-on-year growth. However, imports outpaced exports, with merchandise imports rising 12.4% to $9.8 billion. Workers' remittances surged by 18.9% to $3.7 billion. Tourist earnings rose by 10% to $1.7 billion. Vehicle imports totaled $475 million in the first half, with $163 million recorded in June alone. Gross official reserves stood at $6.1 billion at the end of June, including the swap facility with the People's Bank of China.
News First with the people.
The President's Guide and Prime Minister's Awards Ceremony 2024 took place in Colombo this evening.
The President's Guide and Prime Minister's Awards Ceremony 2024 was held at Temple Trees under the patronage of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. A total of 306 recipients received the President's Guide Award, while 18 were presented with the Prime Minister's Award.
With a legacy spanning more than a century, the Sri Lanka Girl Guides Association has nurtured generations of girls to become confident, responsible, and engaged citizens. The association continues to offer a platform for girls to build leadership, develop resilience, and form lasting bonds. These experiences equip young women to face challenges, take initiative, and contribute to a more just and inclusive society. These are values that we are trying hard to teach our young generation, and this is why we really value the influence that movements like the Girl Guides Association, the Girl Guides movement can make on our younger generation in building women leaders, in building women who can contribute meaningfully to society. So I appeal to you all to really commit yourselves to this movement and to what it can offer, because this is what we want from our education system, not just knowledge, not just to give you knowledge, but to give you the experiences and values that will make it possible for you to participate in society meaningfully and to build the next generation of leaders. And I'm confident that here before me are the next generation of leaders.
The President's and Prime Minister's Girl Guide Awards are the highest honours celebrating girl guides for their outstanding skills, dedication and commitment to the values of the movement.
The Sri Lankan leopard provides an immense value to the island's forest ecosystems. It is mainly observed in the majority of Sri Lanka's national parks such as Yala, Kumana, Vilpattu and Horton Plains, and inhabits other regions as well. The Sri Lankan leopard is the largest member of the cat family in the country and the only member of the genus Panthera in Sri Lanka. Leopards found around the different parts of the world belong to the genus Panthera and the species Pardus, and the endemic subspecies in Sri Lanka is known as the Panthera pardus cotia. In addition to the leopard, Sri Lanka is home to 3 other wild cats belonging to the Felidae family, which are the fishing cat, the jungle cat and the rusty spotted cat.
WNPS initiatives to protect the Sri Lankan leopard is proudly sponsored by LOLC.
Save the Sri Lankan leopard.
Welcome back to the news. The President of the Court of Appeal of Sri Lanka, Justice Rohantha Abesurya, underscored the vital role of moral courage, integrity and public trust in safeguarding the independence of the judiciary.
Delivering his remarks, Justice Rohantha Abesurya emphasized that in constitutional democracy, courts must not be swayed by the will of the majority or the interests of the powerful, but must uphold the enduring principles of justice and constitutionalism. He stressed that judicial independence is not a privilege of judges, but a right of the people, a cornerstone of democracy. While acknowledging the constitutional guarantees, he noted that true independence depends on the moral courage of the judges to remain impartial impartial, resisting political pressures and public sentiment. Justice Abe Surya urged the judiciary to not act as a mirror of political will, but as a reflection of principle. He described judging as a moral act that demands deep listening, careful reasoning and compassion. He also described the Court of Appeal as both a sentinel and sculptor, guarding the rule of law while shaping its role in society. Concluding, he called the justice system a covenant between the judiciary and the people, sustained not by coercion but by trust. Former Deputy Minister of Economic Development and former Minister of Special Projects S.M. Chandrasena was released on bail today by Colombo Chief Magistrate Tanuja Lakmali Jayatunga in connection with a high-profile corruption investigation. Chandrasena was granted bail under strict conditions, including a cash bail of 50,000 rupees and two sureties of 5 million rupees each. Former Deputy Minister S.M. Chandrasena was released on bail today by the Colombo Chief Magistrate in a high-profile corruption case with conditions including 50,000 rupees in cash bail and two sureties of 5 million rupees each. The court also imposed a foreign travel ban and ordered the surrender of his passport. During the hearing, investigating officers informed the court that the preliminary investigations into the incident had been completed and requested that an appropriate order be issued concerning the suspect. Attorney Chaminda Athukorala, appearing for the suspect, requested that the suspect be released on bail, stating that the preliminary investigations had been completed. After reviewing the case, the Chief Magistrate approved bail and scheduled the next hearing for the 9th of January. The case is based on allegations that Chandrasena, in 2014, used his political influence to distribute government-funded maize seeds worth 25 million rupees to his political allies in the Anuradhapura district, allegedly to gain electoral advantage ahead of the 2015 presidential election. The distribution was reportedly carried out by pressuring officials at the district secretariat.
The bill to abolish the special privileges of former presidents has now been published in the Gazette. Its objective is to repeal the entitlements granted to presidents under President's Entitlements Act No. 4 of 1986. Leader of the House, Minister Bimal Ratnayaka, announced in Kegal today that the bill will be presented to Parliament on the 7th of August.
The National People's Power has made it a key election promise to remove the unfair privileges granted to retired presidents. Similarly, the abolition of retirement pensions and other benefits given to members of Parliament has been a demand strongly voiced by the people. In line with this, we are moving forward with amendments to both relevant laws. As the first step, the bill aimed at removing the unjust privileges of retired presidents, including provisions with retrospective effect, has been gazetted today. This bill will receive its first reading in Parliament on the 7th of August. This morning, I instructed the Speaker's office to place the bill on the parliamentary agenda. Once presented in Parliament, there will be a set time frame during which anyone can challenge the bill in court. If such a challenge occurs, the process will be extended by 3 weeks. If no legal challenges arise, we expect to debate and approve the bill within September. Even if a court case does come up, once a decision is reached, we anticipate finalizing the bill in October, complying fully with any court orders.
Meanwhile, journalists questioned the national organizer of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna regarding the party's stance on the proposed bill to abolish special privileges granted to former presidents.
මම හිතන්නේ අවතමාගේ පිටුමා ඇතුළු කට්ටිය ගෙදරින් එලවන්නම ලෑස්ති කරලා තියෙනවා. මොකද යන්න සූදානමක් නැද්ද තාම ඕකෙම රැඳිලා ඉන්නමද බලන්න.
අයියෝ නෑ. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට දාලා සම්මත වෙලා නීතියක් බවට පත් වුණාට පස්සේ ඒ පිළිබඳ දැනුම් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ පිළිබඳ දැනුම් දුන්නම අපි ඒකට ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. මොකද මේ කිසිම කාරණයක් මේ ඉල්ලලා ගත්තව නෙවෙයි. වස්තානුකූලව දීපුවා. ඉතින් ඒ හින්දා එතුමාත් තේරුම් ගත යුතුයි මේ එතුමා ගන්න ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයන් පසු කාලීනව එතුමාටත් පාරාවරල්ලක් වෙනවා.
ඔය තිවිච්ච දීමනා මත යපුණද?
මම හිතන්නේ කිසිම කෙනෙක්ගේ දීමනා මත යැපෙනවා කියලා. හැබැයි බොහෝ අයගේ ආරක්ෂාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් සහ තමන් මේ රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා විදියට කටයුතු කරපු කාල සීමාවල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරපු ආකාරයත් එක්ක ඒ මුණ දෙන්න තිබිච්ච අභියෝගයක් අපේ රටේ තිබ්බා. ඒ පිළිබඳව පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට දාලා තීන්දුවක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මොකද බලෙන් ඉන්නේ නැහැ.
All passengers travelling in light vehicles and public transport services on expressways are now required to wear seat belts effective from today. The National Transport Commission stated that this measure has been implemented to ensure passengers' safety. The Ministry of Transport and Highways has announced that effective today, all passengers seated in the rear seats of light vehicles travelling on expressways are required to wear seat belts. The ministry added that police officers and expressway authorities have been instructed to take action against both drivers and passengers who fail to comply with this regulation. This morning, an awareness campaign was carried out at the Damboka interchange of the Central Expressway with the involvement of the Damboka Police Unit and the Northwestern Provincial Road Passenger Transport Authority.
මොකද කියන්නේ දැන් අද ඉඳන් සීට් බෙල්ට් අනිවාර්ය කරලා රියදුනන් විදියට නෑ හොඳයි ඉතින් මේ පිටිපස්ස කට්ටියත් ආරක්ෂා කරන්න බෑනේ ඒක හොඳ දෙයක් ඉතින් මේ පොඩි අයත් පිටිපස්ස යනවා ඇක්සිඩන්ට් වැඩි වෙයි ඒ හින්දා මම අනිවාර්යයෙන් මම හිතන්නේ සීට් බෙල්ට් දාන එක අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම හොඳයි අධිවේග මාර්ගයේ හරිය හැමතැනම හරිය මේ වෙන අනතුරු වලට ගොඩක් හේතු වෙනවා මේ සීට් බෙල්ට් එක නැති එක ඒක ගැන ගොඩක් හොඳයි මේ නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන එක ඇත්තටම මේ වැඩසටහන බොහොම හොඳයි ලංකාවට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේ වැඩේ කරන්න ඕනේ වැඩක් මේ මිනිස්සු මේව දැනුවත් කරන එක ඉතාල වටිනවා.
Meanwhile, police also conducted random inspections by stopping vehicles at the Kottawa interchange. In the Southern Expressway, checks were also carried out from the Pinnaduwa interchange toward Colombo and drivers were briefed on the new rule. Even the vehicle of Deputy Minister of Fisheries Ratna Gamage was inspected. He expressed his appreciation for the initiative.
ජනතාවට ආරක්ෂාව ලබා දී තියෙන මගේ ජනතාවට ආරක්ෂාව ලබා දීම සඳහා මේ ගත ක්‍රියාවන් හොඳයි. හරි. හරි ජයවා. ජයවා.
Starting today, passengers in the rear seats of vehicles on expressways are also required to wear seat belts. This directive has been in place since July 1st. Most drivers do wear seat belts, but we have been informed that some put them only at the entrance and remove them afterwards. We have also heard reports that some drivers pretend to wear seat belts just to avoid penalties. I want to make it clear this message is especially for bus owners. If drivers under your employment engage in this kind of behavior, it could result in the revocation of the bus's route permit. We are working on legal provisions to enforce this. As of today, this rule is in full effect. All rear seat passengers on expressways must wear seat belts. Statistics show that a majority of fatalities in road accidents involve people who were not wearing seat belts in the back seat.
සීට් බෙල්ට් දාන්න කියන එක මාරක රියනතුරුයි මියාන වැඩි පිරිසක් පිටිපස්සේ සීට් බෙල්ට් දාලා නැති අය තමයි මැරෙන්නේ.
A person injured in the recent wild elephant attack in Anuradhapura, which tragically claimed the life of a young woman, remains under treatment at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital. The unexpected incident has sent shockwaves through the local community, leaving residents deeply shaken.
Two wild elephants entered Labunorua village in Thirappane, Anuradhapura on the morning of 25th of July. According to our Newsfirst correspondent, residents attempted to drive the elephants away. CCTV footage captured the moment the elephants suddenly turned and charged toward a nearby house. Tragically, a 24-year-old woman was trampled by one of the elephants and later succumbed to her injuries. Another individual sustained serious injuries and is currently receiving treatment in the intensive care unit of Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital.
A media briefing was held yesterday to announce that Sri Lanka will host the inaugural Sri Lanka Legends Tournament.
Sri Lanka hosts the first ever Sri Lanka Legends Tournament in collaboration with the Royal Colombo Golf Club, marking its debut on the European Legends Tour calendar. This major event will kick off the 2026 Legends Tour, bringing together golf legends from around the world, including Ryder Cup captains, major champions and other iconic players who have shaped the sport.
So we have a schedule this year of 19 tournaments. Next year we hope to bring back India to the schedule, but more importantly, the first event we can confirm today will be the Sri Lanka Legends presented by Intervest. So what we're looking to give back is the platform for international sports, but it's also a platform for economic benefits. I'd like to think in 5 to 10 years' time there'll be a junior here representing Sri Lanka that participated in this Legends Tour event and learned from our professionals. So it's very important that we focus on the junior development, which will then sustain the golf industry going forward.
This event will be hosted at the country's most historic and prestigious golf institution, the Royal Colombo Golf Club. The tournament underscores the Legends Tour's ongoing global expansion and its commitment to introducing world-class golf to new audiences.
In your sports news, Sri Lanka Cricket today announced that the 2025 edition of the Lanka Premier League will take place from November 23rd to December 27th.
This will be the 6th season of the T20 franchise tournament, which continues to grow in popularity among local and international audiences. Matches are scheduled to be played at 3 prominent international venues across the country: R. Premadas International Cricket Stadium in Colombo, Pallekele International Cricket Stadium in Kandy, Rangiri Dambulla International Stadium in Dambulla.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.